we've been doing a folklore unit in my advanced English classes, and I'm trying some new things, including bringing in some storytellers. And so you happen to be here and are lucky enough to get to interpret for Lisa Lundy Larson. She's a local folk kind of storyteller and writer, and she specializes in Scandinavian stories. She was born in Norway, and this is my first time meeting her as well. But I've kind of asked her to come and talk a little bit about types of stories that kids would find in folklore, and then to do some storytelling as well. So I'm kind of excited. I think the kids are going to be a good audience today. Our deaf student is wonderful, and I'm sure you'll find him to be a great observer. That's it.
So, a lot of you probably know that I am a storyteller, and I'm actually also, I have my degree in applied linguistics, but I did my degree, advanced degree, in using storytelling to teach English to speakers of other languages. And I have studied folklore at the University of Oslo, and I've studied it also at the University of Minnesota. So this is something I know a lot about. It's kind of almost hard for me to try to narrow it down. Something that you can get a PhD in if you want to, you know, to kind of get you interested in thinking about it for 1 hour. But when I use this, when I say the word folklore, folk tales, what are some of the things that you've been learning about that you know already? There are legends. For sure there are legends. That's a kind of folklore. Folklore is like a big subject matter, like saying when you have English, you know, it's composed of a lot of different things. Are you just scratching your neck? I guess that's allowed. Anything else? That's all you know? Aren't you in advanced English class? That all you know is that there are legends? There's got to be more. Come on. There's myths too. Thank you very much. Legends, myths, fables, right? And they're folk tales, which is, you know, so legends, myths, fables, folk tales. There's actually, if you were to get a PhD in it, you get to study fun things like how rumors are spread, or how gossip starts, or graffiti, or you get to celebrate, you know, study how people, folk life, how people celebrate various kinds of customs, you know, and how that gets passed on, and so on and so forth. It's really a lot of stuff. And the thing that I've always focused in on is folk tales. Fables, you know, are short stories and with animals in them. They're different from other kinds of stories because they always, the animal isn't just an animal, it stands for something. So a lion stands for royalty or kingliness, and the sheep stands for meekness, and a fox stands for cleverness, and, you know, everything stands for something. And they always have a moral at the end. So even though they're very short, little kids never get them. They're not really very good for little kids. You know, even though a lot of people think so because they're short. What's the difference between a myth and a folk tale?
Myth, like, explains how something happened.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. But not always. There's one big difference. Gotta have that on the clear. Myths, and I didn't get to, I brought some myths that I'm working on, but myths always have gods in them. They can seem a lot like these other stories, but they always, and they do often explain how things got to be, but they have gods. So Zeus, or, you know, Hermes, or, you know, Hercules, or any one of those guys. And if you're in the Norse myths, I know you learned about Odin, the head of the gods. The day Wednesday comes from Odin, because Odin's old name was Woden. So Wednesday is Woden's day. Thursday is Thor's day. So that's named after Thor, the thunder god, that's my next manuscript. I'm working on stories of Thor, the thunder god. Very good stories. Oh, the best. But Thursday and Friday is named after another god, the chief of the lesser god named Frey. So it's Thursday, Friday. It became in time. All the other words we got from the Vikings were things like murder, blood, axe, slaughter, Pillage, plunder, because you know what those guys are like. But actually, all of those words that sound like that, slaughter, kill, all that, those are all Viking words. Isn't that terrible? So that's the big difference between myths and folktales. Is they're very similar, but these have gods. What about a legend? That's where you were at. It's supposed to have happened a long time ago, and it explains how something got to be the way it was. It's supposed to be true.
Good morning, class. Before we get into the formal history assignment for the day,